Six Flags Great Adventure has just lost its major ride, but how does the rest of the lineup hold up? On this video, I'm going to review what is left, what should stay, what could go, and what you should just skip. Right, let's start with our B&M invert, which is Batman the Ride. Now, this was a pretty good coaster. When I went to the park, we had some ERT on Flash, and then this was the first ride I went to after that. If I remember correctly, there's some reasonable theming. I wouldn't say there's lots. There is a little bit of theming. There's a Batman suit in the station as you're leaving. And it's a B&M invert, and thankfully it's slightly older, so it's still the good type. It's not kind of the modern rattly version. So I quite enjoyed this one. And yeah, I'm going to start strong and put this one in that keep pile. This next one I'm going to get some flack for. I know 100% I'm going to get some flack because this seems to have some real die-hard fans. And that is El Toro. Now, when I went to the park, I had very high expectations of this ride. You know, everyone talks about it. It's this big, imposing Woody that is in the park. Obviously, used to be part of the skyline alongside Kingda Ka. Now it is riding solo without that green giant beside it. And it's an impressive ride, right? It looks fantastic. When I went there, see, the one thing that really annoys me about the Six Flags parks is their policy on taking things into the station, right? I don't know if it's a Six Flags thing, if it's an American thing. You do get this in Europe, so don't come at me saying it's not just America. But this whole locker culture, and you can't take anything in, you know, you can't just leave your bags at the side of the platform. So when I went there, the ride broke down. And I sat there and watched the mechanics do their magic, fiddle around with it, and ultimately they took the train off and put a different train on. Now, that would have been fantastic content for me to film. Couldn't take anything in the station. So that was really, really annoying. But I did get on it 2 times, maybe 3. The restraints are not forgiving. Now, I'm not slim, but I'm not the largest chap, and they absolutely stapled me in. Now, I tried to leave a little bit of space, and it kept going, oh, that car there needs to be pushed down a bit further, and they kept picking on me, and they just kept ramming it and ramming it and ramming it, and it wasn't very comfortable. It has some insane airtime, right? I'm not going to deny that. It is fantastic from that point of view. I just found that, and maybe it was because I was stapled in, that could be the problem. I just found it a little bit too rough. Now, plenty of people love this ride, and maybe if I was a different shape and I wasn't absolutely stapled in, and I genuinely got some airtime, like more than I got stapled in, I would have appreciated it more. I certainly wouldn't destroy the ride. It is still a fantastic ride, but for me, it is going in take or leave it. Right, obviously I had to get the kiddie cred, because, you know, a cred's a cred and all that. And theirs is Harley Quinn's Crazy Train. Nothing special, it is a kid's credit after all. It's got a weird bit of profiling at the end, so it's kind of smooth for most of it, and then at the very end it just kind of flings you to the side, which was a bit odd. And it's really, really bizarre because you know how when you go to Alton Towers and you go on the Runaway mine train and they're like, choo choo? Well, this one, as the train was leaving the station, choo choo bye, choo choo bye, choo choo bye, choo choo bye. Choo bye, choo choo bye, choo choo bye. It was just mind-numbing, it was so bad. And then when it comes round for the second lap, the guy, you know, the ride-up's like, one more time, like, okay, sure. But listen, it's a kid's credit, it's obviously not aimed at me, and I always say it's good to have these kids' rides to introduce the younger generation to coasters, so we're going to keep it. Right, I didn't get to experience all the flats when I was there, but one of the ones I did go on was Houdini's Great Escape, which was their Vekoma Madhouse. Very, very strange. The pre-show's not bad, it's alright. Like, supposed to be kind of props moving around and Houdini coming back to life and all this kind of good stuff. But then you get into the main chamber where, you know, the madhouse actually is. A few things. First of all, it's the first Vekoma Madhouse I have ever been on where they don't allow you to take your bag in with you. Again, this park has weird policies on bags. So you have to go all the way through the ride, out the other side, put your bag away, and then get back on the ride again. Like, okay, fair enough, that slows things down, but confused a lot of people who didn't have bags, because they wondered why all these people were leaving the room, so they started following. So that wasn't clear. Then, in the centre of the gondola, there's almost always some sort of thing to look at. Right? Obviously you've got the room rotating around you, and all the props on the walls and stuff, but there's usually something in the middle. This one, bugger all, just a plank of wood. So that's a bit strange. And then even more bizarre, and again, I think this park just takes things far too far. Before the ride started, the guy, the ride op, came around with a torch, flashlight if you're American, and was going around the back of all the seats, sort of just checking to see, which took about 3 minutes. So you've got the faffing around with the bags, and then you've got this guy, like the loading procedure is ridiculously slow. And it definitely was far from the best madhouse out there. I still think Hex is up there. I know it's my local one and all that, but I just haven't found one that competes with it. And this definitely didn't. So yeah, let's scrap it. So the next coaster I was also looking forward to, and that is the Jersey Devil Coaster, because I'd never done a single rail. Now this is the RMC single rail. Got there, and it seems to be a temperamental beast, because kind of worked, then it kind of packed in, then it kind of worked, then it kind of packed in. It's an interesting loading procedure, because as the train comes into the station quite slowly, as each seat passes a certain point, the restraints come up, the previous person gets off, the next person gets on. So it's a rolling kind of empty and fill, empty and fill. The ride itself, it was okay. I mean, it was pretty fast paced, I'll give it that. I don't know, maybe I just overhyped it. It just didn't live up to what I was hoping for a single rail, and certainly not what I came to expect for an RMC. More on that in other videos, because yeah, I think RMC is not quite what I had hoped it would be for the 5 or 6 that I've done. I've also got a massive gash on my back to this, like I've got a big scar on my shoulder, because as I was so RMC cannot do restraints for love nor money, right? Their train designs are terrible. So there's this big metal contraption that kind of lifts up as you're getting out. Well, as I stood up, I shoulder butted this metal bit, which I didn't realise at the time. Yeah, big cut in my back, and I've now got a scar. So yeah, I'm not going to scrap it, but it's definitely not going in my keep pile, so I'll put it in take it or leave it. Right, another, well, dark ride this time actually, that I was very impressed with. Justice League Battle for Metropolis. Nice, beautiful building on the outside, reasonably well themed queue line. Listen, it's Six Flags, they don't typically do theming. They seem to do it in pockets, and when they do it, they do an okay job of it. This was reasonably well themed, right? And then you get into the station and there's this animatronic guy kind of moving around and chatting and stuff. And then you get on the ride, and it's a shooter ride, right? Dark ride shooter thing. I was the only person there, so I got the top score. Yay! It was pretty good. There was lots of moving props and stuff, and yeah, I really enjoyed this one. And I think I described it as one of these. So basically the car doesn't just move around the track, it kind of undulates a little bit, sort of like Transformers or Spider-Man over at Universal Islands of Adventure. You know, that kind of movement as well as just going around a track. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I'm going to put it in the keep pile. Now, I already mentioned one kid's cred. They actually have 2 in this park, and the other one is Lil Devil Coaster. Wasn't the most comfortable for me. You'll see this as I go through reviewing the other American parks we visited. They seem to have this thing, and it's definitely not the case in the UK, so I don't know if America's the odd one out and everyone else does it the UK way, or if UK's the odd one out and everyone else does it the American way. But basically, when you get on a kids coaster, over here, they're obviously designed for smaller people, right? So when an adult gets on, they're quite happy for you to sit in the middle of the seat, you know, spread over the restraints, and, you know, it's a bit more comfortable. Not in any of the parks I visited in America. They force you to sit on one side, which is very, very cramped as an adult. I mean, look, it's not designed for adults, I get that, but typically a parent will go on with their child. So it kind of needs to accommodate parents as well as children, and it doesn't do a very good job of that. And I was stapled, it was not comfortable, but I wanted the credit, so I did it. Again, it's a kids coaster, it's another introductory ride, so I will put it in the keep pile, but yeah, I think it should be a bit more accommodating of the accompanying parents. Right, I don't know if I'm going to be popular for this next one. So they've got a B&M floorless coaster known as Medusa, and it was really, really quiet when I went. And one of the things I do like about this park and quite a few of the parks we visited in the States is that they're quite happy if when the train comes in the station, your row is empty, stay on the train, go around again. No problems at all. In fact, Even if your row isn't, but there's another empty row, they'll let you just move seats and go back on it again. Don't do that in the UK and it drives me nuts. Like, I don't mind it if the gates are full, fine, get off the ride. But if it's about to be an empty ride, what's the issue with you moving seats? Anyway, they allowed me to do that, so I did a front row and a back row. And I spoke to the staff and I said, where would you recommend I sit? Like, what's the best seat? And he said, oh, this is a smooth coaster, so, you know, it depends what you're looking for. I don't think it is smooth. Look, it's not the worst coaster I've been on, by any stretch of the imagination, but I got my head bashed. It might be because I'm a short arse, and my head is right at the restraints. So one of the guys I was with in America, his head was way above those restraints, so he was totally fine. Me, pinball. Less so in the front than the back, but yeah, still kind of not the most comfortable thing for me. So I'm going to put this one in take it or leave it. Right, we're about halfway through this list. So you know what that means. That means this is where I say please like and subscribe. So like and subscribe. Another one that I've had quite a bit of flack for in the video that went out is the B&M Hypercoaster. Nitro. Now, I think the first time I went on it, I described it as very tall, very long, very boring. Now I know I've had some people agree with me on that. I've had other people absolutely come at me for it. I went on it a second time, and I did enjoy it more the second time. It had warmed up a little bit, so later in the day it was going a bit faster. I don't know, I still just... I got airtime, don't get me wrong, but I just... because it's so tall and imposing, I just expected a lot more from it. And it didn't deliver that, so... Look, it's okay, but it's another one I'm going to put in take it or leave it. So, the park has some older attractions, and one of them is the Runaway mine train. And it's an old Arrow coaster, which of course, as I'm sure many of you know, there's not a huge number of them still running, right? They are kind of, that and Schwarzkopf are two manufacturers that no longer exist, and those coasters are becoming more rare. And there's a lot of massive Arrow fans out there. I kind of appreciate some of them, and I could get rid of others. There's a few coming up in future videos that I will scrap. This one, it's a mine train, so it's not an intense coaster, it's not a super fast coaster. It was okay, it wasn't too smooth, it wasn't too bumpy. The brakes coming into the station at the end though, I found quite aggressive. Like, you often get that, right? That you're just trundling along, oh, here comes the station, and then you're just like, okay, I've stopped then. So it was one of those. But listen, it was okay for what it was. So it's another one that I'm going to put in... Actually, Emma... Oh, decisions. I was going to say put it in take it or leave it. But actually, given what I've said about the fact that Arrow's quite rare, I think I'm going to give it a pass and put it in my keep pile. Right, one of the things that I was grateful for, because when we were there, it was hot. Like, it was up in the high 30s, feels like 40s, which I think for my American friends is in the hundreds, like 100 and 104 kind of thing. It was hot. It was uncomfortable. And obviously in those scenarios, you want a nice water ride to cool you down. So they do have the Mill Log Flume, and we did a bit of a takeover of it. So there was a boat with me and Scott from Your Experience Guide, and Andy, Coaster Crazy, and Gareth. So there's 4 of us in this boat, and we got wet. And under the circumstances, I completely needed that. It was fantastic, really appreciated it. So yeah, I think because obviously America has the climate that it gets warm, water rides are definitely needed. So this bad boy is going to my keep pile. There's another strange coaster, which, I mean, I was going to say I didn't know anything about. You can't really know much about it because it's enclosed and it's in the dark. It's Skull Mountain. Now, from the outside, I actually didn't know if it was a coaster or a water ride, to be honest, because there's this kind of facade, sort of comparable-ish to a cross between the Ghost Train, because there's a skull on it, and Valhalla, because it's got that kind of rockworky thing going on. But it is a coaster. It's actually not a bad coaster. It's quite a nice coaster. Like, it's not super extreme, it's not super tame, it's just nice. What wasn't nice was the restraints again. Now, in my case, I'd just eaten, and it just sat right where the food was. So that wasn't great. It's basically an indoor dark coaster. So there's nothing to see, apart from the odd bit of daylight that creeps in and a fan, because it's nice and air conditioned in there, so it was much needed. But yeah, it's a weird one. There's nothing special. I think these coasters in the dark, personally, I don't mind an indoor coaster, but something to see every now and then, like, I don't know, some UV stuff or a thing that lights up, or I don't know, just something. So I'm gonna put this one and take it or leave it, but it is an odd little attraction. Right, at the back of the park, over towards where Kingda Ka used to be, is the B&M flying coaster, Superman Ultimate Flight. Now, I say B&M flyer, I made the mistake of thinking it was a Vekoma flyer. That's in the next park I'm going to talk about. So yeah, B&M flyer, been on many of these before. This one's pretty intense though. It's got that kind of pretzel loop, and my god, you pull some G's in that, and yeah. I mean, I didn't grey out, but I think some people probably would, because there's a lot of force in that. Yeah, not the park's fault, but definitely very slow at loading people, because people, you know, people finding, oh, I don't know if I want to sit in this seat or this seat, and oh, do I need to take my shoes off, and wait, how do rides work again? Oh, I need to click my seat. Just so, and the problem with that, like, it's annoying because queues don't move very fast, but the biggest problem with that is it's a B&M flying coaster, and as I'm sure all of you know, if there's more than one train on the track, whilst one is in the station fanning about, the other one is probably stuck on the brake run, dangling like this. It's not great. Obviously, I've said this many times before, you look at something like the Vekoma flying coaster, the way they do it, by the time you're on the brake run, you're back in a seated position. So even if you're stuck there, you don't care, instead of just being kind of suspended like a ragdoll. So listen, it's a fantastic ride and it's very, very forceful. So despite the operational issues, which aren't entirely the park's fault, I'm going to put this one in the keep pile. Hey, another one that kind of caught me off guard. It's an indoor attraction, so you can't see what's going on until you get in there. And that's the Dark Knight coaster. Now, unlike Skull Mountain, this one does exactly what I wanted Skull Mountain to do, in that there are things to see. So, you know, you go into this one and it is basically a wild mouse in the dark, although not really in the dark, it's just inside. And the good thing about that is that as you kind of go along and you turn around and then you go along and then you turn around, there's kind of props, like sets, if you will, like it looks like you're going down a street. So, you know, typical wild mouse, it's just snaking along. This one, there's stuff to see. So I really like that, and definitely one that is going in my keep pile. Okay, so when we went there, I think I mentioned this already, we had ERT on Flash Vertical Velocity. Now, somebody asked me what ERT is. If you don't know, exclusive ride time. Basically, we got an hour on that attraction before the park opened to the public, which is fantastic because, for starters, we didn't have to worry about bag policies because we could just leave them where we wanted, and secondly, we could just lap the thing. And we did. I think I got 4 or 5 shots, front row, back row, all that kind of good stuff. And I absolutely loved this. This was actually a bit of a surprise to me because on the face of it, I went, oh, it's a boomerang, like a shuttle coaster, right? It goes forward and back. I was like, meh. But actually, this one's really good because, like, it does a swing launch. So you obviously go up that big spike, which is fantastic. And then there's a bit where you kind of get hang time, and then it goes through the course. But when it comes backwards, I don't know if it's going slower or if it's just that backwards you feel it more, but that hang time in reverse is insane. Like, it just feels like you're upside down for ages, just dangling there. And the good thing is, and I've said this before, it's got an audio package, so there is music playing, like it is just, it adds to it. It's fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, so possibly one of my favourites in the park, in fact, so it's definitely going in my keep pile. Right, there's one more coaster here, which again, I think caught me off guard. It's the Joker, so it's their 4D spinning coaster. I hadn't heard anything positive about these. Like, I'd heard, oh, they're a bit uncomfortable, blah, blah, so I went in with low expectations, basically. And I came off with a massive smile on my face. I absolutely loved it. Now, I did it twice. I did it, so there's 2 seats, well, there's 4 seats in each side of the train, and they're facing each other, so you're facing into the middle. So when I did it the first time, I was on the side facing the direction you leave the station. And it was pretty good. Like this one, I did a couple of others in other parks later on. This one sort of rocks you as you go up the lift hill, so it's a perfectly vertical lift hill, and it's kind of rocking you. And then you get to the top and you start flipping and all this sort of stuff. It was pretty good the first time I did it. The second time I did it, I was facing the other way, and I got way more like spins than I did the other one. So I don't know if that is just generally that seat's better, if it was just weight distribution, I don't know what it was, but I was giggling like an idiot, flipping and spinning. If you're somebody that doesn't like spinning rides, clearly this is not going to be for you. But this was another massive hit for me, along with Flash. So yeah, this bad boy is getting kept. Right, there's quite a lot of other attractions here that I'm not going to cover. Again, as always, they're either really small kiddie ones or ones that just don't appeal to me. They've got a slingshot. Said it in the vlog, you ain't going to see me on a slingshot, just not my bag at all. But they had a gyro swing and I really wanted to get on it. Obviously, most of you will know, Blackpool gets a giant gyro swing next year, so every opportunity I get to go on a gyro swing, I'm taking it. Well, I didn't get the opportunity here because the damn thing was shut. So they do have Wonder Woman Lasso of Truth, but I don't know if it's any good. So if you've been on it, let me know. Right, so that is my review of this park, and despite losing its headline attraction with Kingda Ka, I still think it's got a pretty good lineup. There's obviously more things here I would keep than scrap or take or leave, which is a fantastic thing. The coaster that's supposed to be coming next year, rumour has it has been pushed back to 2027. Typical. But yeah, let me know what you think of this park and indeed the rides. I guarantee there are a few controversial ones in there that you will disagree with. And if you haven't already, I'll put a link up here to my visit to that park.